Hey everyone, it's Greg from Stationery Shenanigans, and welcome to episode 2 of Use Your Good Stuff. And this episode is going to be about fountain pens and fountain pen inks. Now, if you go to some of my videos in the past, you'll scroll through and you'll see here that I launched kind of like this use your good stuff mentality. And I forgot where I heard the phrase of devour your good stuff, but it made me think and reflect about how in the stationery community, especially, we like to really hold on to things that are like limited edition, special. We don't want to use our nice pens. We don't want to use our nice notebooks. We reserve them for better days or for admiration or something like that. And I connect with that and I feel that. And honestly, I do that outside of stationery. I do it, you save like good chocolate in your house for when you have a guest or something. You want to save the good soap that you put out for guests. And it's just like the time is now. As we're in 2025 and things are just changing even more in our world, we have to start using our good stuff. And this is a challenge. I'm honest. I want to be able to use my good stuff more, and I find myself really struggling to do that. And I want to put it away and grab a cheap piece of paper and not like my really expensive one. But I'm pushing through and I'm reminding myself that the time is now. So I just want to have us reflect a little bit about what it means to use your good stuff, to devour your good stuff across our lives. And really, just if there's one thing you can do this year, maybe it's one item that you finally pull out from your shelf, one traveler's notebook insert that is a limited edition that you got 5 years ago, and you just use it. If it's just one thing, let me know how that goes for you, and it helps you free yourself up a little bit with your creativity, with your planning, with your introspection, all those things. I'm not expecting you to take all your stuff and just start using it and not respecting your things. But in fact, when you start to use your stuff, you gain even more respect for it and helps you reflect further. And that's another reason why I wanted to start this series, because by recording videos of it and uploading it to YouTube and getting to talk about my stuff with you all, it helps me remember what I have and it helps me feel excited for the future. So that being said, let's get down to it. Today we're going to talk about a fountain pen and a ink. First up, I have a lavender iced coffee. Grab yourself a nice little beverage and listen to me yammer on about this fountain pen and fountain pen ink. I probably have shown it on my channel before and talked about it. It might be on one of my original fountain pen videos, maybe like 2 years ago. But the one I'm talking about today is the Delta Journal. Now, this was my first big fountain pen purchase, probably in 2017 or so. It cost a pretty penny, at least to me, which honestly, compared to a lot of other fountain pens, I would say it wasn't expensive. I think it was discontinued, but I swore recently I saw something that they're starting to make it again, but I don't know if that's true. Mine is number 6647 because they each have their own serial number, and it is a pretty sized fountain pen made in Italy. Now, one reason why I chose this one is I have really large hands. So this was like a meteor sized fountain pen in my price range. And another interesting feature of this one, I don't know if you can see it because my Apple Watch is not responding. The clip at the very end is a rolling ball. So the reason why it's that way is so when you're clipping it to something, it would not really get snagged or like break the clip. I don't know if I explained that very well, but it's supposed to make clipping your fountain pen to things much easier. The second feature that is definitely a win for me is that is a screw top. Now, I am always paranoid that my pens are going to leak. I'm paranoid that my coffee tumbler is going to leak. I'm paranoid that my water bottle is going to leak, and it's only happened on a few occasions, but that's just who I am. So one of the reasons why I got this was because I wanted to have that like security of putting it in my work bag, because believe it or not, I used to bring this to work. So you just screw it off here, and then you get to the nib. Now, let me see. This is a medium nib. It has Delta on it. So I guess Delta makes their own nibs. I'm not sure if it's manufactured through someone else, and then they just use the nibs. I'm honestly not sure, and I have done zero research on it, so forgive me. But this is one of my good fountain pens, probably the most expensive, probably the most special to me. I bought it at an interesting time in my life. which I'm not going to talk about in this video. I thought about selling this a while back or getting rid of it. And then, in fact, I totally changed my perspective on it and was like, no, I love this. I love how it feels in my hand. I love the blue. It's very classic looking. I love how it was a first big purchase after I kind of got my first, I guess you could say, like my first big raise, like when I moved to tax bracket. um, and I just love the way it feels in my hand. So instead of focusing on the negative memories associated with it, I was focusing on the fact that there was a reason I was drawn to this. So it's kind of bring me back to why I chose something in the first place. So this is the Delta Journal fountain pen. We're going to go ahead and get a converter and ink it up with the ink that I'm going to talk about next. Okay, ink time. So this is Kakimori's Forest Green ink. I purchased this in store in Tokyo a long time ago on my trip to Tokyo, probably in 2016 or 2017. And it was really special to me because y'all obviously will believe me when I say this, but one of the main reasons I went to Tokyo was to do like a tour of stationery stores. Like, that's all I really wanted to do. Of course, I loved everything about it, but like my goal was to go to all these cool stationery places because let's face it, Japan is the capital of stationery, in my opinion, um, in terms of like the culture of it. And most of the major um, stationery companies like Pilot, Pentel, all of them are based out of Japan, or a lot of things were Japanese inventions. So they're kind of like the masters of stationery. I'm not saying that there's not other great stationery countries and brands, but I'm just saying, like, when I think of quality, really detailed stationery items, I think of Japanese companies. Anyway, besides the point, I'm rambling. So this was farce. Now, I had made a trip to this store because I really wanted to do their make your own fountain pen ink. I don't know if it still exists. This was a long time ago. It was also pre-COVID, no idea. But it used to be like the store was one half where you could make your own notebook, and I know I did that. And then the other half of the store was like a bar where you could design your own fountain pen ink. And the day that I had journeyed out there, that part was closed. For some reason, it was either closed because like they were redoing it. I didn't look it up ahead of time to realize that the make your own ink section was not available to customers. I wasn't upset because the experience was still wonderful, but they did have batches of inks that they still made there. At least that's what I understand. And honestly, green's my favorite color. I probably would have made some kind of green ink anyway. So I chose this forest green color. Now, because I purchased this in store, because this has been in multiple countries with me. I've moved internationally. I brought it back from Japan. I've moved to multiple states. Like, I've toted this fountain pen ink around forever, and it's special to me. And I've barely used it. I think I've used it maybe twice. And what are we waiting for? Use your good stuff. So let's go ahead and ink up my Delta Journal fountain pen with this Kakimori Forest Green ink. Now, I do have international standard converters. So I don't know if I mentioned, but the Delta Journal just takes international cartridges. Now, I still have some. When I lived in Russia, I used to buy these fountain pen ink cartridges just in blue, like your typical standard ink cartridges, and these were always very inexpensive. This is a 10 pack. It was probably like 40 cents, maybe 50 cents. I just loved using these because they were readily available at most major like supermarket style stores. And the thing about these is like there's very little risk. It's like, okay, if it dries out, you just throw it out. And it fits so many different kinds of pens. So I still have some of these, and that's pretty much what I would use for this pen, except there was a period where I'll try to insert the image here. I think I've talked about this on a live, maybe in my fountain pen video. I had to throw out a bottle of Pilot Namiki blue ink, which was my absolute favorite, and I had purchased it with this pen. It was due to diplomatic, custom-related issues where if I wanted to ship a certain amount of things that contain liquid, I basically had to fill out a form for each thing that had liquid in it, and I just didn't want to deal with that. So out of all the inks when I moved, this was the only one that made it. I just love me a classic blue. It's great for writing for work documents and all that fun stuff. But anyway, I don't think either of these converters or the ones was the one I originally used in the Delta Journal. I honestly do not remember which is which. I have these marked as International Standard Converters in my little box here, but I could be wrong. Let's see if we can see up close if there's any brand marking. No, I feel like this one with, no, doesn't say. So I feel like this might be a Pilot. One of these might be a Waterman. I don't know. So let's pick one and try to ink up our pen here. And I'm just going to pick the one that's closest to me because I have trouble making decisions. And it fits a little, not really snug. Wait, let's try this one just for funsies. Okay, they both don't really fit snug. So now I'm curious, is this not... Okay, I also wanted to take a look. This is the online fountain pen that I bought at Archer Paper Goods here in Knoxville. It also has a converter, and I wonder if that one would be snug. Okay, see, this is snug. Can we just do a comparison here? This fits snug, okay? This online one, it's actually hard to pull out. I feel comfortable trying to put that in this fountain pen. This one, it's not even plugging in, and this one, so that makes me nervous. So what the heck? What are these? Then what are these for? Why do I have these? Ugh. So anyway, I was going to suggest that we ink up this online fountain pen too and have two fountain pens with my Kakimori Forest ink, but we can't because we really only have one functional converter at this point. So let's stick with our Delta Journal and we'll move everyone else here to the side. And remember, I'm not an expert in fountain pens. There are plenty of other wonderful channels that talk more in depth about fountain pens. For example, the first one that comes to mind is Marcy Me. She talks about fountain pens and really goes into detailed reviews of her pens. But I love fountain pens. I'm an enthusiast. I appreciate them. I'm not a technical expert. So please don't include hate comments about how I'm doing this. Constructive suggestions and helpful advice is very much welcomed, but like I said, this is not just a fountain pen channel. Okay, let's see how we can ink this up. And I'm just gonna try to just go right into the bottle here. Zoom in a little bit. And we're gonna crank it down on the converter. And we have our napkins on standby and we're gonna dip. I don't know why this feels so difficult. Like it shouldn't be that difficult, but it just feels difficult. Okay, we didn't go down far enough apparently. Let's try it again. Taking the plunge. All right, we got ink in there. Does anyone else get nervous when you're inking up fountain pens? Or is it just me? Okay. Just trying to clean it up a little bit. Let's screw that body back on. I do know that when I first bought this fountain pen, some people complained about how the ribbed screw section can feel a little bit rough on your hands. I like it. I just feel like I like writing more with a grip, so for me it's like perfect. But I could see how some people, that's not their cup of tea. So I'm just blobbing some of the excess ink off here. Of course I got it on my fingers, but as Kat says from Paper, Pens, and Coffee, messy hands, happy life. So we are embracing that. I'm gonna put the lid on. And let's do a little pen test. Now, what we're gonna do for this pen test is we're gonna take the Rollbon planner that I recently bought. So we've opened it up, and like I said, this is a cream-colored grid paper. And taking out the fountain pen. It does post, but it's also comfortable to write without it posted. Let's see if we can get it started. Nope. Okay. Maybe it needs to be held vertically. I mean, it somehow got up into the converter, so it has to come back out, right? This is turning into a really long video, but hey, I'm glad that you're here with me. If you enjoy any kind of this content, please consider subscribing. I really want to grow this channel and grow this community and eventually have like in-person meetups and all that fun stuff. So I did clean this before. Oops. Oh, whoops. Don't know what happened there. How did I get that on me? Like, how does this happen? Oh, there was a blob on the side, I guess. Maybe on the cap part of the nib. Okay, let's see if ink's gonna come out. Unsuccessful. What does that say about me? It couldn't be clogged and ink not coming out of the nib if we were able to get it in the nib, right? Like, what's up with that? All right. I'm not going to edit this out. I'm not going to cancel this. We're still going to try to use our good stuff. I don't know what's happening here. There must be a clog. I don't know how that's... It must have been the ink came up through the hole in the nib, but the actual tip itself of the nib is clogged, and then we're not going to have success. Okay, plan B. Let's take the converter and put it into this online pen. Let's see if that's an option. And I got more ink on me. Okay, so we are real on this channel. We're doing messy planning. We're doing non-aesthetic. That's what Stationery Shenanigans is all about. So if you have any tips on how to maybe clean a clog, please let us know in the comments below. I'm going to try to take this converter out, put it to the side, put it in my new online pen. I did make a video about my little visit to Archer Paper Goods here in Knoxville, and I'll link it here. That way, if you do want to go watch it. I had recently stepped in there quickly when I was in the building the other day where the paper goods store is, and I'm surprised it's still open. I can't imagine it'll be open this time next year. There's never anyone in there when I go there. Okay, so this is the online fountain pen. It is called, well, it's not called anything. I don't know what this model is, I'm sorry. This is an interesting nib. It almost feels like it's supposed to be a calligraphy pen, but it definitely says F for fine. But I love this ink. Yeah, this is really nice. My Chinese handwriting is horrible. So this is the Kakimori green ink, forest green, and look, there's no bleed through for this Robon notebook, so it's definitely fountain pen friendly. Wait, how do I spell Robon? Scratch that. I don't know how to say I don't know how to spell it, so we'll just write Kakimori forest green. And I do feel like it is a little bit of a wet ink, but it's definitely a beautiful dark green. It's kind of what you would think in American English when we say like forest green, like this is the color that I would say it is. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me for this episode. Sorry it didn't work out with my Delta Journal fountain pen, but hey, like I said, we're doing messy planning, non-aesthetic, real life stationery shenanigans. Okay, P.S. I forgot to mention something. I used to keep the Delta Journal fountain pen with this Filofax in navy blue original sized planner. There was just something about it that just seemed like elegant to me. I think it has something to do with the color navy blue. That's just like where my head goes. And I used to keep it in here. The pages are empty, but that's how it would look. So I just felt like it was a nice combination. Sometimes we just enjoy those nice combos.